Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this inaugural Solid Edge Clinic. Solid Edge Clinics are designed to assist you to use Solid Edge better, to be more productive, to find better ways of achieving your design goals. This inaugural Solid Edge Clinic is covering Solid Edge ST4 as an introduction. It'll give you an idea of what's being released in ST4, just some of the highlights. It's by no means an in-depth presentation at all, just to show you what's there. In future Solid Edge clinics, we'll introduce topics that are of interest to you, our users. Just a quick introduction to Edge PLM software. We're founded 8 years ago to sell and support Solid Edge, which we've been doing ever since. We've been building around that product with CAD products, most noticeably in the piping and associated areas. In CAM with NX CAM Express, Sigma Nest for sheet metal. We have a range of simulation products, as some of you are no doubt aware, and of course our data management products. We've got offices in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. Just a note on our upcoming Solid Edge ST4 seminars, where we'll go into a bit more depth and you'll be able to ask more questions and get a better appreciation of what's in the ST4 release. We'll kick off with Melbourne on the 31st of August, Brisbane on the 7th of September, Sydney on the 13th and Perth on the 22nd. All of this information will be available on our website, and you'll be receiving invites in your email over the next week or so. Solid Edge ST4, design better. The key goals with ST4 are to help you with advanced design, expanded collaboration, simulation and drafting. We always enhance the drafting product, as you're probably aware, with each release. The design area, in this release we've done a lot of work in refinement. You'll find a lot of small enhancements which make a great deal of difference to productivity. Let's take a look at just a few of those, and we'll demonstrate these a little later. We've got to go through a few slides and then we'll actually demonstrate these aspects live. A lot of work on revolve features, shaft modeling. It's simplified that a great deal, as you'll see. It picks up dimensions from the sketch and automates a great deal of the process. With synchronous, web networks have been sped up considerably, and there's a lot of new tools for web networks, making anything you want to do in webs more applicable and synchronous than it ever has been. The relationships in the part area has been completely reworked, and you'll see that in a demonstration shortly. It makes it a great deal easier to apply traditional relationships to the three-dimensional part. You'll see the benefits of that shortly. In assembly, we've added some new relationships, most noticeably a center plane relationship, and we've done a lot of work in the fasteners area to allow you to place bolts in slots automatically and refine that whole area. We'll see that again in a demonstration. Again, in assemblies, we were allowed to we can now apply rounds and chamfers to multiple parts in an assembly, and we can use the steering wheel to copy and constrain parts. What that means is we can automatically pick up constraints when we copy parts, single parts or groups of parts. There's some quite clever technology in there and a great time saver. One thing I won't show today, but it's worth investigating, is catalog parts. Solid Edge Part Community, you see a link down the bottom there, http://solidedgepartcommunity.com, solidedge.partcommunity.com, sorry, gives you access to vast numbers of parts ready in Solid Edge format. These are from a partner supplier who specializes in doing this, and it's free for you to use. It's some nice stuff in there. You'll see first up too there's been a big change to our graphical presentation. I won't talk a great deal about that, but both in the normal screen and in rendering, things have been made a lot prettier, I think is the best way of describing it. Let's take a look at some of the things that we've been doing. Okay, as I said, it's got a lot prettier in the graphics area. You can see that there's a reflective floor. Material display has improved quite a bit. It's very nice, very nice. Okay, first thing we're going to look at is in the user interface. Our relationship commands are now in their own part of the toolbar, rather than being part of the quick menu as it was before. The relationships were down here. They've now been moved into their own toolbar. So if we wish to do place a coplanar relationship on, just do a singular line. So I want to place a coplanar relationship on that face and that face. You'll notice that the first face I pick is in bright green, which is the seed face. If I accept those and say I want to move those to say, or align them to this face, that's what will happen, but they'll remain in their respective offset. So these faces weren't parallel, but they've been moved to, this face has been moved to parallel to this one, or coplanar, and this face has been moved by the same amount. If we do a multiple select, let's do that again, and this time we'll do a multiple select. So this time we'll say, we'll do a multiple align, so I want to pick that face, and let's say this face as well, and accept those. You'll notice that none of them have precedence over the other. So I then select this face, and they will all move to be coplanar with that face. You'll also notice as we do that, didn't mean to reject that, see, I do make mistakes. Accept that, you'll see the relationships come in down here, and the coplanar relationships there. So it's a persisted relationship automatically. Okay, the other thing that we might want to do here, if we look at this, we will see a number of features in here that we might want to replicate or make symmetrical. This little face in here, for instance, it's this one here. I want to be symmetrical. This face here, I want to be symmetrical with the other side. And this face here, I want to be symmetrical with the other side. So I've selected the three faces I wish to work on. I'm going to accept those. I'm now saying, it's now prompting me down in the prompt bar for the face that you want to be symmetrical to for the first seed face. You notice that's highlighted in the brighter green. Okay, I want to be to that face and accept that. And it's now prompting me for a plane of symmetry. I'll turn that plane on now so you can see it. There's the plane. And you'll notice, before we accept that, you'll see the light blue faces are now symmetrical to this face. This face has been picked up because of the coplanar rule. Okay, tick that one off. It now prompts me with the next face, which is the bright green one. I want that to be symmetric to that face. It does that automatically. I don't need to accept each time. And now I do need to accept, but it remembers the plane, and then I've got the final face to be symmetric to that one. Accept that. And it'll create all these relationships, these symmetry relationships, down in the relationships collection. So when we look at that, we find that's all nice and symmetric. A couple of things to point out here that's been changed for the better. If I zoom in on that, my middle mouse button, if I double click, now will fit automatically. And if I click once on my middle mouse button, then select an edge, once on my middle mouse button and select an edge, that's the edge I'm going to rotate around. So when I hold my middle mouse button again to rotate, it's that edge. If I click again with my middle mouse button, select the edge, and hold down the middle mouse button again to rotate, it's that edge that'll rotate around. If I click once, pick the circle, Now when I rotate, I'm picking the center of the circle to rotate around. This is very, very clever. As I said, your zoom works on your mouse middle mouse button in all applications now, assembly, draft, and everywhere. Double click, does a fit on the screen. Some quite nice things there. Okay, moving right along. The next thing that we want to look at is some of the things that we've done to sheet metal. Let's bring up a sheet metal part. This is as it has been before. There's a number of things that we can do to that, but what we do have is a whole new way of handling gauge and setbacks in the sheet metal environment. So if we go to our properties, material table, my materials and everything, I'll just leave that as steel. If I go to my gauge now, we've got our usual thing here, our material thickness, bend radius, and those sorts of things. They were fixed for every bend, so that the bend radius, we couldn't have different neutral factors on different bends because it was fixed to being one. We now have an Excel file, and if I pick up, just say steel, and let's say 12 gauge, you'll notice it automatically picks up the thickness, bend radius, etc. These are grayed out also. So if I pick up 20 gauge, what's it do? It changes those as well. So let's go back to my 16 gauge and just edit that table. So we bring the table up, and you can see the gauge table. I think what did I pick up before? I think it was 16 gauge. There's my 16 gauge table. It's material thickness, the default bend radius, and so on. These are in imperial values, but they've been translated automatically to metric because I've got a metric part. Now the important part about this is for each angle, and I've got these in increments here. I could have them in 1 degree increments if you wanted to fill out the table. Against each bend radius, we have a neutral factor set. So these will be unique for each one as we go through. This is very powerful. So if I apply that, sorry about the noise there, it will update my part, but be aware that it will only update the developed part. If I look at my radiuses here, that's the old fixed one, the defaults, and we won't see the resultant in here, but it affects the developed part, the flat part. Okay, I was talking about relationships before. Let's get back and take another look at those. Let's close this one off. Here's a common situation that we had that we have with Sketch. We have the ability to apply horizontal vertical relationships between key points on other pieces of geometry. In this case, the circle there is got a horizontal vertical relationship to the center of the angled line on the left, to the end point on the 38mm line on the right, and to the center of the 110mm line on the bottom. Now, in the past, when we extruded that, those were just simply lost. Let's see what happens now. First thing I'm going to do, so we can change things, is select all the dimensions, like so, right click, and I want to unlock those dimensions. There we go. Now, if in the past, if I'd moved that to the left and right, it would have just moved the hole. Now it's maintaining the center relationship at the bottom and moving the left-hand face. If I move it up and down, what's going to happen? And again, those horizontal vertical relationships are being maintained. If I change this dimension, the hole will move with it, and the length of the left-hand sloped line as well. How can we see what's going on? There's our relationships. in our relationship collection. So they maintain in the relationship collection. If I wanted to delete those, I could just delete or suppress them from the list here. Let's say we just suppress that one and see what happens when I move left, right. It just moves as we'd expect. Okay, I talked a little bit about revolved before. Let's take a look at a revolved feature. I don't want that, do I? Okay, what we've got here is a complicated sketch, 2D sketch. I'm going to select the region, place my steering wheel on that axis. In fact, that's the wrong axis. I want to put it on the center axis there, and all I have to do is rotate the steering wheel. Now each time I hit the shift key, I'll go symmetric or asymmetric. So that's not symmetric. Hit the shift key, it's symmetric. In this case, however, I want to do a full 360. Now you see this takes a second or two, and all the dimensions are brought forward onto the model itself. So we've got all our PMI dimensions there, and again I'm just going to select those and unlock them. Now in this case, what I want to do is to be able to let's have a look at this slot here. I'll lock that dimension and just edit this one. You'll notice also that when the revolve section was created, we created a live section, which is this sketch, which is what's being driven by the dimensions. So this is truly a mixed mode. The other thing that I might want to do, let's just suppress the dimensions for a moment, is to put a hole on this. Now this has been enhanced as well. So if I place my hole somewhere on here and press the F3 command, I've got my control again for my hole. This time, in this case, I wanted it at 90 degrees, and I want to place my hole on the center of that line. You'll notice as I place the hole, it automatically updates the live section with the hole. Let's produce another feature on here. So I just take off the lock and revolve that over a little bit. And what I want to do is to sketch on this plane, so just lock onto the plane, and we will just view on the plane a little bit here. There we go. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle, some sort of shape, depth, width, height to there. You'll notice I use the radial menu quite a bit. Make that 20. It really, once you get used to using that, you'll find it's nothing short of magic. I'll make that 5mm. And again, to sweep that, all I have to do is to pick up the region, place my cursor on the axis, and revolve. And again, shift key, symmetric, asymmetric, or in this case we want a full 360. And again, you'll notice it put in a section, a second live section, this one here. Reduce that cut. One of the last things I wanted to show you, it's sort of a mixture of part and assembly mode. Let's just bring up a little motor part here. Okay, if we look at this base, I might just activate while I'm thinking about something else. If we look at this base, we find that it's missing some componentry. Well, not componentry. We find that it's missing support bushings up from the base here up to this bearing support here. So what we want to do is to leave that on. So we want to turn off this front frame. I don't want that, sorry. I brought up that list again. We'll see that a little bit later. I want to show only that and the handle there. Now what I want to do is to edit this part. So in place, activate that part. Show the previous level. Show the other assembly components, and just in this case, just this one. And what I want to do is to extrude. Now I'm just going to extrude using a face. So pick that face and that face. Where do I want to extrude to? I want to go through to next, accept, and down. And there we go. Let's just hide the previous level. So we've put those in without having to do any other work. There's no copying. We can make those associate if we wish to, but let's just finish that off. I'll put a round on here. There we go, and a round on there. That'll be fine. And display everything. Very nice. I quite like that one. I think it's very nice indeed. Okay. Just clean up our screen again. Okay, continuing right along. Let's get the slides running again. There we go. The other thing that we've added in the design area is a lot faster performance on complex parts. Where you had lots of repetition in the past, edits could be a little slow. They've been sped up. Where you've got here, we've got concentric cylinders, many locked dimensions. When you edit with a lot of locked dimensions, that doesn't affect performance. The view of the designers is that you don't need a lot of locked dimensions. Some of our customers feel more comfortable with lots of lock dimensions. As I said before, a lot of work on the place fasteners, the fastener stack area, some auto ballooning on fastener stacks. There's been a lot of work on flow lines for exploded views, so you can custom edit the flow lines with avoidance areas and what have you. You can split the flow lines, you can insert new lines, and they'll all come through to draft. There's a lot of tools in there. Very nice. In the frame area, the update has been enhanced considerably. We've got key point curve now for creating 3D paths in Express Route for flexible tubes, those sorts of things. Standard parts has been enhanced. Quite a lot of work in standard parts to clean up the user interface and what have you. British standard components have been added. Those of you who noticed in the assembly before, when I was working in that, the shortcut menu, the right-click menu, has been shortened. It used to take me, I must admit, quite a while to hunt through this sometimes. I'd sort of get a little bit lost. With the new one, everything's still there, but there's a few more groups in there. Faster select tool performance, key point locate, cylinder axes, and those sorts of things for non-plane faces has been worked on. There's a lot more in that area. Don't forget the Solid Edge News Group. It's now accessible from the Solid Edge open screen. You've got language translators and what have you. There's been quite a bit of work done there. I said before in presentation, there's been a lot of work done in the rendering area. It's multi-threaded now. We started that in ST3, a lot more of that in ST4. So let's just take a quick look at I spoke earlier about a new relation command. We've got a thing called center relate. Let's take a quick look at that. We're bringing in a component that we want to position between these two washers. So in my parts library, I've got this washer part here. I'm going to drag it in, place it somewhere, and just give it an axial relationship there. Let's just move it out of the road so you can see very clearly what I'm doing. Just use the steering wheel to move that. along its axis there. There we go. Okay, if we take a look at our assemble command, we have a new relationship in here called center plane. In its command bar, we've got a single select or a double select. I'm going to use a double because I'm going to use this face and this face. And it's now saying click on plane. It's where do you want to place it between? Again, between that face and that face, and it'll place it in the center of those two. How do we know? Well, let's change the relationship there. So if I change this lever, we'll notice how it dynamically updates. So as we change that spacing, so it still stays in the center. There's another way of doing this. You saw before that I could have double or single. How could we have a single with a part like this? So if we use our show hide component, you'll notice that this is a new interface here. I want to bring up the reference planes, and I have the I can see the reference planes. So if this time I do a center plane relate, I can pick single, I can pick that, and then I can say that face and that face. And I've done something wrong, so let's try it again. Center plane. All right. Sorry, I did a right click in the middle of that. Okay, and that works the same way. Very nice. Just clean up again. One of the other changes to assembly has been in this area. This is one that has been frustrating, I know, for a number of us for some time. But if we do an animation of a component like this, the subassembly in it, and I pick that, we've had no constraint over distance, so those sorts of things can happen. Well, let's see what we can do about that. Let's edit that that cylinder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mate relationship from that face, and I want to set a new distance. We had fixed and float before. Now we've got range. So I'm going to make that 4 millimeters to 240, I think it is. That should do. And the other end of the mate is to there. Okay, save that, slip back to my assembly, and now see what happens when we adjust the assembly. You'll notice it can't travel any further there, and when I come back in here, it's 4 millimeters. So this is very nice. I like this one. Good fun. Okay, let's close that down, move on. One of the areas I spoke about before was rendering. This rendering area, and there's two aspects to this. It's what we see on the screen and the ray tracing rendering. So first of all, let's see what we see on the screen. If we go and look at our templates that we have here, we have a default template, which I'm on at the moment, and a high quality template. The high quality template will give us a reflective background and shadows. And there's one other that we supply, is the rendering template, which again gives us a different look and feel to, sorry, I'll select that, it might even work. So a different background and a reflective base and shadows. And just a slight different from the other one. As I said, we've also got under our ERA, expand, explode, render and animate, the rendering functions. We'll take a quick look at those. They've been enhanced. If I pick my selection here, predefined, we've got some scenery that's pre-set up. I'm going to take a look first at the abstract and just take a black background into here. And let's render that scene. So it's a black background with a like a black polished surface that the razor here is sitting on, and you can see the reflections in the bottom there. There's some. It's a very nice function indeed. If we go back to our predefined, we've also got some 3D backgrounds. Now these are, in this time I'm going to bring in a meeting room. But before I do that, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to use Shift and Control to change the aspect ratio here. So you can see I'm sort of moving that aspect ratio out so that it's like so. But because it's an office space, I'm going to move that a little bit further away, like so. And let's do a scene render on that. And there we see it sitting on an office table or a meeting room table. Shadows on the table, reflection on the table. And to prove to you that this is in fact a I just get that aspect ratio a little bit different, and we'll rotate this round so we see this other aspect of it, and just re-render that scene. You can see I've got a complete 3D scene here. You see the rest of the room reflected in the model. Okay. Let's go back to the slides very briefly. Collaboration. There's been a lot of work in collaboration in the JT area and with Team Center and other managed products, but more directly for most of our customers. Most importantly, the AutoCAD translator has been enhanced so that multi-line text is retained correctly on import. There's a lot of work being done in the block and geometry origin matching. SolidWorks, there's a whole new translator for SolidWorks. You won't really notice much different, but a lot of problematic SolidWorks files will translate with no issues now. And now we can directly open an Autodesk Inventor part from Solid Edge. The only thing that you need to have is the Autodesk Inventor free viewer. In addition, I know a lot of people are going to like this. We create 3D PDF files can be saved directly from Solid Edge. It's sort of no biggie. This thing, it just does its thing. It's not a big deal at all. Let's have a look at that quite quickly, and let's close the ERA briefly. Let's zoom up on my razor here. I'm just going to save the razor, so we'll do a where is it? Save as translated, and in here now in our options we have 3D PDF. I'll just say save to that, and it's done. So if we open that in, there we go. This is just the ordinary PDF viewer. Version 8 and beyond will give you this ability. For some reason I can't do this. I don't know why this wants to do it. But this should open up the viewer screen. I'm not sure why that is, but you can see all the components in the. There's something wrong with this viewer. You can see all the components. You can turn on and off components. You can look at things. You can revolve. If there's dimensions, PMI dimensions on parts, they will come through as well. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. I really don't know how to use this that well. There we go. There we go. I've turned it on. So I can turn off. Let's just turn off the front part, and we can see inside. Okay, that's pretty ordinary stuff. It's it's nice, but it's PDF. Let's convert the Inventor file and you'll just get a feel for that. So it's an open. We want to open here, and it's in there, I think. There it is, an IPT file, so we can open parts and assemblies. It'll automatically translate them into Solid Edge. So we just say open on that. Because it's a part, I'll just use a part template, and it translates it. So if it's an assembly, it'll build all the part files for us automatically in the assemblies. Everything will come in grounded, but as you know, we have tools for creating things. So in it comes, and we can modify it, do whatever we wish to do to that, as we can with any imported part, but it's just now direct, which is quite a bit nicer. Okay, moving along now, we will move to take a look at what we've done with drafting. Drafting, as you're all aware, is a very strong point in Solid Edge's development calendar. With every release, we do considerable work on the drafting package, and I think you'll all agree with each release. Not only do we add enhancements, but the enhancements are quite spectacular. We've got drawing view captions, a lot of control for drawing view captions and establishing naming conventions, which can be quite complex. A lot of work in the broken view area. Break lines can be curved. You can show break lines on geometry and not in space, and those sorts of things. There's a little example down here. You can omit ribs from section views. So in this, there's a section through here, but the rib doesn't get sectioned. That's actually sounds very simple. It's quite difficult to do. A lot of work in parts lists and tables. Automatic aspect ratio for cells. Rotated text, a whole lot of things like that, and you'll see that in a moment. We'll have a quick look at that. A lot of work in the text boxes, and auto ballooning, call-outs, and feature control frames, all areas that people use on a regular basis. It's very easy now to create special dimensions and annotations and add jogs. We've added new world symbols. Getting at the symbols, there's now a new interface for doing that, a new dialogue system for accessing symbols, which makes it much easier. Sheet scales, you can derive a sheet scale from the first view placed. Symbols and values, I was talking about before, this is the dialogue here. You can have drawing view contents displayed when moving the views, just like Windows. Print preview for single and multi-sheet printings, and this user interface again, as I came back to. Let's take a look at an example here. Okay, just to reiterate something I said before, the center wheel now automatically zooms, and if you click down on the center wheel or the center mouse button, it pans. Quite nice. Okay, changes that we've done to the parts list table. Let's take a look. There's some very nice aspects to this now. First thing we're going to look at is just putting in a title. So turn on title. We can have multi-line titles. So and another line. I have to be able to type. What font do I want? I can change the font. Let's go to something more spectacular. Arial black. Size. Make it 7. And now when we apply, notice that we see the update there straight away, and we stay in the property table. This is to me, is a huge productivity gain, because you can work here without going in and out all the time. Now, one of the things we see here, look at the quantity column. It's all crunched up, and I really don't like that. So I'm going to format that cell, and I'm going to orient it so it's rotated. And I'm going to adjust the text to the column width. And if we apply that, we'll see that it's really badly crunched up. Make the column width a bit bigger. We'll make that 20, or the row width, sorry, and apply that. Now it is truncated, but it's quite readable in there. Another thing while we're in the quantity column, notice we've got 1, 1, 1, 1 with the rules between. It gets a bit hard to read. If we merge vertical cells with same value, which is sort of a long bit of text to do that, those are all 1, that's a 2, that's a 1, that's a 4, it's a 15, and so on. Those are 2s, it's a 1, those are 2s. So it neatens that display up quite a bit. Now, when we get into these multiple columns, these ones, mass items, mass quantity, we're repeating words and things. So I'm going to work those column headers into 2 rows initially. So the first row, I'm just going to say mass. I'll take the word item out. And I'm going to show row 2, and in row 2 I'm going to put the word item. I'm going to go to quantity, do the same thing there, shown 2 rows. So quantity, let's get rid of that. And row number 2, put in the word quantity. I could have cut and pasted in there if I thought about that, couldn't I? So go back to that one again. What I want to do now is to merge with the next header. So instead of having, well, let's just apply that for the moment. So we've got mass, mass, item, quantity, bit messy. So we're going to now merge with the next header, apply that. And we've got one word mass. I could now center that, center those. It neatens things up quite a bit, as you can see. So, moving along. Okay, let's look at some other aspects. As I said before, the zoom command, very nice. Pan, so we can pan about with the middle button. So just rotating the mouse wheel and clicking on the middle button and holding, we can zoom and pan all in one operation. Very nice. Okay, one of the things that we want to do is to change the formatting of this text a little bit. So we just right click, go to the properties. Nothing unusual here, we've all done that. I'm going to use the override pulled out text 2, and I'm going to make that horizontal. Okay, so I've made that one horizontal. But what I want to do is apply that, and there might be some other changes I made as well, to other dimensions. So we have a new icon, copy attributes. I want to copy, what do I want to copy? Style, prefix and type. I just want to copy the style. So I want to copy it from there, and to there, and so on. Very nice, very quick, quite logical to use. Okay, next, one of the things that we have to do is clean up drawings from time to time. So let's take a look at witness lines on drawings. Let's say we want to stagger them out a little bit like this. Select it, hold the Alt key and click to where we want to place the jog. We can also angle those jogs. So if I pull up here, that will angle that jog. Likewise there. If I pull up and down on this one, of course, it doesn't change the angle, it just pulls the jog. So very easy to do. Just the Alt key. Once you've selected the dimension, Alt click. To get rid of it, reverse the procedure, Alt click. So select the dimension, click on the inside one with the Alt key held down, and it's gone. It's very nice. Very simple and very effective. Finally, I think we talked before a little bit about things that we can do with call-out text. So I'm going to put a long piece of call-out text in. Attached to this somewhere will do. There we go. Let's zoom up on that. And move away from when I select it, we get our command bar come up, and what I'm interested in is down the end of the command bar, text control. I want to change the aspect ratio, so we've only got a limit. Let's say we've got a limited amount of room to fit that in. I don't want to change the text size, I just want to crunch it up a bit. So it'll just do that automatically for me, just crunch it up like so. To undo that, that mightn't be applicable for what we want to do, so we might actually want to change it to wrapped text. So as I crunch the box up, it'll make it into multiple lines. Quite nice. So to move on, So back to our slides briefly, and let's summarize. ST4, this release is, if you like, a consolidation release. In ST3 we saw some quite dramatic changes. The changes in ST4 are less dramatic, but in no way less effective. We've built on the gains in earlier ST, ST2, ST3. ST4 delivers a lot of refinements, a lot of productivity, and just makes it much easier to get into complex design. Some resources for this release. Remember, self-paced training is available. Let me give you a quick look at that. If we go back to our primary screen, there's our self-paced training. If we just click on that link, it will take us to a website. And straight away we've got, so have a look at our constructing base features. It'll take us into that tutorial. We simply click through and follow the instructions. It'll give us an introduction to what's going on. A link to download any files we might need, little movies under these buttons, and so on. And away we go. It's pretty straightforward. Don't forget that that's there, and it's a tool for you to use. The ST4, as I say, it's now available in ST4 automatically. There's the help, look at the what's new. There's detailed explanations of what's been added and what's new in ST4. You've got on your documentation area at the GTAC site, you've got a documentation area in your Solid Edge documents. Have a look at those. Have a look at our website. There's information on our website. Don't forget, of course, the support people can help you through things or point to where these resources are. This is the documentation page. It's got about the node-locked registration guide, the release notes for ST4. They're worth reading. Okay, Solid Edge ST4, design better. We had have a Q&A session, which I'm dropping from this recording, and it remains for me to say thank you for attending, thank you for your time, and don't forget about our live seminars. You can ask more detailed questions there, see it for yourself. Once again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at the next Solid Edge Clinic.